Welcome everyone to another episode of How to Scale an Agency. Super excited because we have an amazing guest expert today to share some secret sauce on how to scale to 8 figures and above for your agency. Today we're going to talk about the mistakes that people make from scaling from 6 to 7 figures and also 7 to 8 figures, which from what I understand, that's what you really help agencies with. You've helped over like a few hundred agencies actually with scaling from 7 figures and beyond. Really excited to welcome Jhana Li to the show. Welcome, Jhana.
Thanks, AJ. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I know what you're sharing today is going to be super, super valuable. And it's not only a question like I get asked a lot, but also something that I've struggled with a lot in my own business, right? So really excited to kind of unpack that journey, which I know is pretty like ambiguous for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, totally. 100%. We're just going to break it down.
Yeah, for sure. So I always think it's cool to have the viewers know a little bit of background on you. So I always like to know, like, firstly, like, how did you get into entrepreneurship? And then how did that lead to, like, how did you get into what you're doing now at Spyglass Ops?
Yeah, totally. So a few years ago, I was living in a van. I was traveling in that van full time through North and South America. I was living with an ex-boyfriend, and he was starting a digital marketing agency. And so that was really my first introduction to entrepreneurship, was just watching him try and build this thing with his co-founder. And, you know, like, as you do, you like talk through problems and you like, you know, try and help people out, etc. And so I started getting introduced to his business and the challenges of his business. And then through a series of odd events, I actually ended up stepping into his team to just like fill in for someone who had left suddenly, and ultimately went on to be that agency's COO. That was my very first operations role. And when I got into that business, it was just really clear to me that there were all these holes and all these gaps, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just started plugging the gaps, right? Like, look at the billing system. They're losing $40K a month in recurring revenue. Okay, cool. Like, fix the gap. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but that seems like a problem. And I eventually learned that there's a word for that. And that's what really operations is creating efficiency gains within a business. And so from there, I became the COO and head operations coach for a coaching program, not unlike yours, AJ. There were 500 plus business owners in that coaching program, digital marketing agencies specifically. And so I got to be the operations coach for all of these people. And I got to see all, like, they were just like pulling back the curtain. So I got to see so much data about what was going well and what was not going well, and what was consistently holding agency owners back when it came to scaling from 6 to 7 figures, 7 to 8 figures. And just through all that data collection, I eventually learned, like, these are the best practices when it comes to like making those jumps, and specifically how to do that in a way where the agency owner doesn't become the like burnt out bottleneck trying to do everything themselves. Like, here's how we actually create scalable and sustainable change.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, actually, we share a unique part of our journey together. I also was living in a van when I started my agency.
Were you?
Or not, like 6 years ago when I started my agency.
Oh,
we were doing
hell yeah, dude.
Living like all across the U.S. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Both started a marketing agency in a van. Look at that.
Yeah, it's a wild time. Look at that is rare. Okay, I love that. So yeah, I now live in a house, but it was a good chapter.
That's good. I upgraded as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 vans.
It's nice.
No, I was kidding.
That's right. Nice. So yeah, about 3.5 years ago, you know, when I was kind of done with that second COO opportunity, I decided to start my own business because I just saw so many agency owners and entrepreneurs in general just like struggling, right? Struggling because they're creating this massive growth and this massive success, but it's totally coming at the expense of every single waking hour of their day. And at some point that just runs out. Like, at some point you can't work any harder. And then what do you do? And that's really the moment that we step in to help our clients.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of people can relate to that from the audience, because we hear that all the time, right? Like, a lot of agencies just get stuck maybe around $500,000, $1 million a year, right? Which is probably what you see as well, where like they're not really naturally, like, I don't consider myself naturally an operator, an operations person. I'm definitely like sales and marketing as my background. I know that's the same for a lot of people in the agency realm. So I think a lot of them just kind of coming in like not knowing how to do that stuff, right?
Exactly. Like, no one ever taught us how to be a CEO, right? And like, we can be really great salespeople, really great marketers, but what it's going to take to get our business to, you know, 500K months, $1 million months, it's going to take more than just hustle.
For sure. Yeah, it's a different ballgame for sure.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting. So you didn't really have any, you didn't like necessarily study to be a COO or like work for a company doing that. You kind of just like helped that agency, and then it sounds like you really had a natural talent for it then, like plugging the holes in the business, building operations, and then kind of realize along the way, oh, this is being a COO, and I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah. And it was just a really, you know, I'm sure as many people in your audience relate, it was just an intense learning curve, right? Like, I'm passionate about this thing. I want to figure out how to do this thing. And so I'm just going to figure it out. I read every single book, and I got lucky with some incredible mentors like, you know, Layla Hermosi and some people that really just like helped me level up. And that through that like active self-education process, you figure it out. But really it was that coaching program where I just got to see 500 different businesses and their problems. That was the real unlock for me.
Yeah, for sure. Because then you can see like really a broader perspective on what are the common roadblocks, right? What are the common patterns? What are most people messing up with? So yeah, let's dive into that. So I want to talk about 6 to 7 figures first, 7 to 8 figures first. 7 to 8 figures after. So I know you mostly help folks that are like around the $1 million mark and above, right? So what are the mistakes you see people before then? Like going from 6 to 7 figures, they've already got some clients, they've already got their business off the ground, they're making money, but they're stuck reaching 7 figures. What do you see? And
that's just with, that's just our core offer really starts at around that 7-figure run rate. But for most of my, career, I helped most agency owners in that 6 to 7 figure stage of growth.
Okay, cool.
Let's be honest, like it's where most of us are, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of things that in terms of what systematically holds people back from getting to 7 figures, it's a couple of things. Number one, it's hiring bad talent. So even when you're at that very small stage of growth, if you are starting to build that initial team and that team is eating up more time than it's worth, right? Like you're building a team of people who are not following the SOPs or don't know how to think for themselves, or you don't know how to lead and create an environment where that's the case, then you're already this insanely busy CEO. And now more and more of your time is being taken up with team management, which is, let's be honest, not time that you had to give to begin with. So that's one thing that I consistently see holding 6-figure entrepreneurs back is like even in those initial hires. And I think that we have this narrative around like, yeah, but they're just like a marketing VA, right? Like this is just how it's going to be. Or I like hired my brother and he's pissing me off, but he's my brother, so I can't do anything about this, right? Like these are the common mistakes that we make when we don't know how to build a team and we don't know how to hire. And so we go out and we try and figure it out, but the reality is like that team starts holding us back more than it is moving us forward. So as soon as somebody is making the decision to start to build a team, that's the very first skill set and the very first system that I recommend they bring into their business, which is a hiring system. Do you know how to consistently find A players, even within your budget and even within, even if it's an entry-level role, there's a way of bringing in A players systematically from the beginning. So that's a big one. The second one is, this should be as no surprise, but like waiting way too long to bring operations into the business, right? I'll be the first to say that operations is not important when you start a company. It's not, right? We need sales, we need marketing. We need to figure out what the heck it is we're doing and how we are going to deliver on a product. Operations has nothing to do with that. So it can go to this side when you're small, 10K per month, 20K per month. When we start getting into the 30 to 50K per month, that's when, we need those initial sets of spreadsheets or those like basic systems that are keeping things together. And then 50 to 100K per month is really where operations starts to enter into the business and it becomes a needle mover within the business. And I see so many business owners waiting until they're at 80, 100K per month before they even bring in working scalable systems. And it is, again, it's just holding them back. It's costing them so much time and so much energy to do things so inefficiently. So they ultimately get to their goals way slower, even though it feels like it slows them down to just take the time to build out that system or to do it properly.
Yeah, no, so those are so two common mistakes are initial hires taking too much time, the team really holding it back. Definitely want to dive into that. And the second one was waiting too long to bring in operations. So diving deeper then, when you say that the team holds them back, because I can relate this as well. I think when we got like our 10th hired revenue boost, I started to feel like I was spending more time managing, right?
Totally.
And I wasn't really doing it very well. And it was like, I was like, wait, I'm supposed to get time back. Like, why am I working double as hard now, right?
Exactly, yes.
What do you feel like are the causes for that? Is it they're hiring the wrong people? Is it they just are hiring people but they don't have systems, that they don't know how to lead? Or I'm sure it's a mix, but like what causes that, do you see?
Yeah, so a couple of root causes. Like number one, wrong people in the wrong role, right? So either we know what the role is and we've brought in somebody who's actually not qualified for the role. That's what I see when we go to the friends and family hiring round, right? Like I just need someone, my like boyfriends, sisters, dogs, cousins, babysitter is available. So I'm going to plug them into the role and they seem competent. But the reality is like what's needed in the role versus what that person brings to the table. We're not doing any due diligence there. We're not cross-referencing that and making sure that they can actually do the job. So then your job as a manager becomes not only now having to manage this person, but teach them how to do the job, fix every mistake when they make the mistake, and have to step in when the job gets hard. Like you're now doing their job for them because you didn't hire somebody who already just knows how to do the job. So that's the first mismatch. But the mismatch also goes the other way, AJ, where you hire in this awesome person, but then you don't give them a clear role to fill. So right person, wrong role, because the role is not defined. I might bring in somebody super competent because I just need a billion things done. And so I'm going to hire this kind of jack of all trades. I'm on my lookout for like my unicorn employee, right? Like I think we all want that, like just one person who can be as good as we are and do everything the way that we would do it. Not only is that not a realistic person to find for a budget, but they actually aren't set up for success when their job is just do everything, right? You're going to have way more success as a business owner if you understand the clear roles within your agency and you hire specialists into those roles. Layla Hermosi calls it hiring scalpels instead of Swiss Army knives, right? When we're small and there's so many hats to wear, there's this intense pressure to hire the Swiss Army knife because there's so many different hats that need to be worn just a little bit. But the reality is like, what does a Swiss Army knife do? They do a bunch of things, but they do it just okay. As opposed to hiring in scalpels, which is where you're able to get the best results out of people because they're really, really good at just a couple of things.
So for example, like let's say that an agency only has budget to bring on one full-time person. Would it make more sense that that person's still really specialized, or maybe they hire like a part-time person doing that special, like a few part-time people that are specialists as opposed to one full-time person that's more of a generalist?
Right, exactly. So I think that you can get creative with it, right? So you can understand, cool. So like one we see a lot in our space is client success and operations, right? So this person might be a specialist in client success, and then they have like a leaning towards operations. I think that totally works, right? You can have somebody come in and be the exact fit for 2, maybe 3 hats, but it's with the clear understanding of like what I'm hiring right now is client success. How they're going to grow in the business is within client success. I'm going to pour more and more and more of their time towards client success as we're able to hire and get some of these other hats off their plate. And when I bring them into the role, I'm going to make it really clear that their job is client success and operations. I'm going to give them 2 different job scorecards. I'm going to treat them like it's kind of a schizophrenic tea party, right? I'm going to treat them as 2 different people on the team meetings. I'm talking to your client success hat. I'm talking to your operations hat. Tell me about these 2 different things, right? So even though they're wearing multiple hats, there's super clear lines in the sand that are drawn. And so when it comes time to expand the team, you get to have a conversation with that person that says, hey, what do you want to grow into? Do you want to grow into client success or do you want to grow into operations? Because we get to take one of these things off your plate now. So I'm hiring specialists who have, adjacent skill sets that help them be generalists, but I'm making it really clear exactly what hats they're wearing, as opposed to just throwing them into the mix and being like, do everything. Because what happens is down the road, they think they make the mistake. And in fact, we as CEOs make this mistake all the time. We make the mistake to believe that our job is to just do everything. That is not our job, right? Our job is to be the CEO, and then we have to wear a bunch of other hats in the short term. But the clearer that we can make these hats, the easier it becomes to build a team out around you. Because if your job as a CEO is to do everything, when does that job end? It never ends. And so you end up at 7 figures still doing everything, even though you've got this whole team in place.
Yeah, that's an amazing explanation. And I think it's a really tough spot from a lot of agencies I've worked with. And from reflecting my own business, it's really tough. It's like that transition is hard, right? Like in the beginning, it's easier doing everything yourself. But then getting to that point where you have the team and they're all self-sufficient, it's like most people get stuck on the way there, right? Because you're kind of having to still do the one thing, right? Like still be a doer, but then also build all these systems for management and make time for it.
And my invite is just like, wear all the hats. That's the reality of the job. But understand that you're wearing different hats, right? I have an org chart. I'm represented like 5 times on my own org chart. I put myself in all of those different roles that are functionally the roles that I have to fill in the business. But what I'm aware of is these are my 5 hats. I can actually track, I can measure how much of my time is being spent across these 5 hats. I can ask myself the question, which of these hats is lowest value and needs to come off of my head next? And then when I hire that person in, I can fully and completely transfer ownership of that hat to them. Because from the day one, I was clear. My job is to be the CEO, and then I have these other hats that I'm wearing. As opposed to, my job is to do everything for my business. And there's no boundaries around that, and there's no clarity around that. And when I hire in that next person, well, I still have to do everything for my business, right? As opposed to saying, nope, that hat comes off my head, it's not coming back on, and now it is that person's responsibility to take that hat and to run with it.
Yeah, so you would recommend still making an org chart even when you don't have a whole team, like still just trying to start as a first step to like visualize what are the roles and who am I going to need to hire, right?
Exactly. It's going to make building your team way clearer, more organized in the long run. And you know that you're hiring in people because they're a match for specific hats, as opposed to hiring in people because they're generally competent and I just need somebody yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've definitely made both those mistakes before, hiring the wrong person. Now I just think about it the other way, right? Where like I'm first thinking about the role and the tasks and the skills, and then who's going to fit that. But I think a lot of us have made the mistake, right? Of let me hire someone because I like them, or they seem like a great fit, or like let me find something for them to do, right? But
right, exactly.
Yeah, definitely the wrong move.
Yeah, so, I mean, we all make that mistake because again, nobody taught us to do any different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So then anything else that comes to mind in terms of mistakes with team building or like getting the team to just really be some more self-sufficient at that stage?
Yeah, so I think I kind of touched on the second main root cause here, which is that even, let's say that you do hire in the right person for the right role, the second main mistake that we make is assuming that our job is to always pick up their slack, right? If I hire in a new account manager and there's a client escalation, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs that I know are going to be like, whoa, this is a new account manager. This client's angry. That client might leave. I might lose money. Give me that escalation, right? I will take it off your plate. And the trap that lays for us down the road is that we build a team that becomes reliant on us. It's like somebody learning to walk with a crutch. They become used to the crutch. The crutch is always there. The crutch becomes how they walk. And then if we're the crutch, what happens when the crutch like falls away? The team is unable to stand on their own. And so we make that mistake by jumping in and saving our team or taking the hardest components of their role away from them. We build a team that becomes reliant on us. And where I end up stepping in with my clients is, they're now at 7 figures. Their whole team is coming to them for everything. They're exhausted. They're frustrated. They're disappointed. They're asking themselves and me like, why can't they just think for themselves? And why do they come to me with the same questions over and over again? And my response back to them is like, because you taught them to. You taught them from day one that they could do that was okay, and that you would take their job for them whenever it became hard. And so my biggest invite to smaller business owners is like, just never put yourself in that position. Don't be the crutch. Your new account manager, they need to learn how to handle client escalations. You could hop on a training call with them before they get on with that client. You could role play it, right? Like you can still support them and coach them and set them up for success. But that's different than you doing their job for them. And if every new role comes in and takes that hat completely and entirely off your head, and by the time you hit 7 figures, you've got this self-sufficient, well-functioning team. And instead of doing 10 roles, now you're only doing 4 roles. And that is much more viable when it comes to scaling now towards that next major milestone.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great advice. And I think, it's like just not being the fixer, right? Because then people are going to keep relying on you to fix things, right? Because it's the instinct. We see a problem, we jump in to fix it. I think the part that's really hard about it is that you have to be willing to let some things just break. You have to be willing to possibly risk that client not being happy after that call, but it's in the best interest of the long term, right? Is to teach the person and like let them do something.
Yep, 100%. I know I'm quoting her a lot for some reason in this episode, but Layla always says the day that you agree to build a team is the day that you agree to let your team lose you money, right?
Yeah, that's good.
That's the hard reality. If you have a team, your team is going to fail. They are going to make mistakes. It will cost you money in the short term for that to happen. But in the long term, you now have an account manager in this example that can handle every single client escalation without you. And the net time that you earn back for yourself, the sheer number of hours that you earn back for yourself to now turn around and do sales and marketing and drive strategic partnerships and create content and do all these things that are going to move your business forward, you are going to make more money than that one client lost you to go through that account manager's learning curve. So yes, mistakes are expensive, but it is way more expensive for you to spend all your time being the crutch, hoping that your team never fails. Because let's be honest, they're going to fail anyway. It just comes back to you.
Yeah, for sure. So just taking that long-term view, I love it.
Yep.
Cool. So then let's talk about the second common mistake you see, waiting too long to build operations in the business.
Yeah.
You said at 30 to 50K, they start to need like the basic level of operations. What does that look like? Like what are the systems you think someone needs to have when they're doing like 30, 40, 50K a month if they don't have anything?
Yeah, totally. So there's essentially 2 core systems that run a business. You've got your front end system, that's your CRM. In the agency space, the most popular one is like Go High Level, right? This is where you are managing your marketing and your sales activity and all of those conversations. Super important system, right? I've seen so many like successful businesses, you'd be surprised, AJ, like if I told you their names, like running shit out of spreadsheets. And the problem with that is that at a certain stage of growth, spreadsheets are fallible. Spreadsheets make mistakes. We forget to update the spreadsheet, or somebody comes in and updates the spreadsheet and it's wrong. And we lose money. The result of all of that is that we lose money. It takes a ton of time and energy to keep it up to date. It doesn't work very well, and we lose money. So on the front end, moving into some sort of dedicated CRM that is built around helping you keep as much money as possible makes a lot of sense. On the back end then, most people get that. They'll bring that system in at some point. On the back end is where I see people waiting way too long. The system on the back end, the one system, if there was one that you could focus on building, I call it the single source of truth. And the single source of truth, you can house it in any project management software. So this would be Monday.com or Asana, or my favorite is ClickUp. They all work. There's not a right answer here, guys. Just pick one and run with it. And that manages, that back-end single source of truth manages all of your team execution and fulfillment on the back end. It's a hugely powerful and important system. When we take our clients from not having this system to having this system, their productivity can 2 to 3x as a team overall. Their meetings get cut in half. Their Slack used to be crazy amounts of chatter, and now it goes quiet. Like, it's this massive efficiency gain for the business. Because if you're trying to run the back end of your company out of spreadsheets, what you're losing is time. A huge amount of time and energy, because there's a lot that's like, your business is growing more and more complex by the day. And if you're trying to run all of that complexity out of, like, let's be honest, your brain, a bunch of Slack messages, and then a couple of spreadsheets, you end up being the single source of truth. Now your team is coming to you for everything, trying to figure out what's going on. Or you're going to them, making sure that they've gotten all of their work done. You end up becoming that system, when a system could just take that from you and get hours of your week back on your plate.
I love that. So what would a single source of truth look like? Is that like seeing all the projects in one place, like all the documentation for how to do it, or what would that actually look like?
Yeah, totally. And so like I have, so much curriculum around this system to help people build it out. You can reach out to me if you want that. But there's essentially 5 core pillars to the system. You have your meeting agendas. So all your meetings run through in and out of this system. You have your SOPs. So all your documentation around how you do your work happens through this system and is tracked through this system. You've got task management, and specifically, like, those tasks are in individual to-do lists. So instead of having every member of your team working out of, like, this guy likes a notebook, and this guy over here just uses, like, the notes app on his phone, and this guy over here has sticky notes, right? Like, it's all in one place. Everyone has their to-do list in this system, and at any given point in time, you know what they're working on, they know what they're working on, and tasks can flow through the business that way. So what do we have? We had meeting agendas, SOPs, tasks. Project management is, any major project, you are orchestrating that and organizing that through this system. And then the last one, and I think most important for an agency to actually start with, are master dashboards. Master dashboards are organizing and housing all of the key information across the business. AJ, I'm working with a client right now. They're a $450K per month business, and they're an agency. Their single source of truth is still in spreadsheets. And wow. I can tell you that their account management team is 3 times bigger than it needs to be because of this one thing. They're spending easily $30K in labor that they don't need every single month because they're running the system super inefficiently and manually out of spreadsheets, as opposed to effectively and automated within a single source of truth. So it feels small when you start. It feels like not a big deal to just use the spreadsheet versus use ClickUp. But at scale, when you stack up all of those hours that get lost, it becomes enormously expensive.
That's crazy to be doing $500,000 a month and still be doing everything in spreadsheets.
Wild.
I mean, I guess it's the kind of thing where a lot of people will put things like that off because, it's working, right? They think it's working. It's not necessarily like a problem, right? Right. Or we don't think it's a problem, but it works as is. So I think, because I can reflect a lot of times where there's been something I needed to do to work on my business and to grow it and improve it. But the current thing works, right? So I'll put attention somewhere else. So I think that's the dangerous mindset.
Totally. Because it does work, right? But it works 60% good as opposed to 90% good. And you're like, all right, big deal. It still works. It does work. But at scale, it's costing you $30K in revenue that you don't actually need to be spending on labor, right? Like, yes, it works, but it's super inefficient. And all of those inefficiencies will only grow and compound and stack up as you continue to scale. And what that means is at scale, your profit margin goes away. Because yes, it works, but it doesn't work as efficiently as it could. And your profit has to make up the difference.
For sure. And I think there's a lot of fear people have too, right? Because it's like, oh, I have to change this whole thing. What if it doesn't work as well, right? Because you're talking about the back end of a business, right? Where everything's like, that's how they run things.
And this is why I love talking to six-figure agency owners, because you don't have anything yet. So you might as well just build it in ClickUp. If you're going to take the time to build it somewhere, just build it in the system that will take you all the way.
Yeah, rather than have to redo it later, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Cool. So then after, so front-end system, CRM, single source of truth, just to manage the back-end fulfillment. What about after that, right? Business is getting closer to 50, 100K a month. What are the next things you see they need to implement?
Yeah. So at that stage, the 50 to 100K per month, I recommend just bringing in a person, right? Bring in an operator, because there is so much more that needs to get done when it comes to the operations of running a seven-figure agency. And the great news is that that is totally not your job, right? Your job is to stay focused on sales and marketing and driving revenue and driving growth. There is a bunch that needs to happen to make that company run and run well and run without you being trapped in the day-to-day weeds. But that's actually not your job. If you can bring in an operator, and by the way, I'm not talking about some crazy expensive COO. I'm talking about like an ops manager, right? Like these people domestically in the US are like 60K a year. If you hire them internationally, which you totally can, they can be 30K, 40K a year, right? So it's not that expensive of a hire, but they're creating a couple of things. They're creating a high performance team. They're creating scalable systems that will never break and never slow you down. And they're creating you. They're giving you your time back so that you can continuously show up in the highest value revenue driving activities for the business. They're giving you your work-life balance. They're giving you an efficient and effective relationship with your business. And so without that operator, again, we end up having to step in and be all of those things and manage all of those people and pick up all of those drop balls and try and build those systems, even though we hate them and they don't actually turn out that well, right? And so the efficiency gains of just handing it off to somebody at that point are enormous.
Yeah, just so they can focus on it all day, right?
Exactly. And like me, right? I stepped into my very first agency and I was like, guys, your billing system is losing you 40K a month. Did you not see this? And they were like, no, we didn't fucking see it, because we're focused on other things, right? We're focused on how to drive this company to the next level. You should be focused on that. But that doesn't change the fact that 40K is leaking out of your business right now. So when you can focus on revenue driving activities and someone else can focus on keeping your company as tight and lean as possible, you get maximum revenue with maximum profit, because the expenses are kept low and tight and lean. And so it makes sense at that point to just divide and conquer, because it's very difficult to wear both hats as once.
Yeah, so at that point, the number one thing you can do, the number one key to really set yourself up for multiple seven figures, eight figures, is just hire that second in command, right?
Correct. Yep, exactly. And that's what we help our clients with as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can hear, or virtually hear, probably a lot of people having a sigh of relief in the audience right now. Because I know me personally, I always thought like I had to just become this amazing operator and I had to get really good at like systems and meetings and this and that. And I always felt like I wasn't naturally like that person, right? Like I don't want to be on meetings 100%. All day and building systems, right? I want to be focused on growth. So to me, it even just, and I know I'm not alone, it just feels good to know that like that's not my job and I have to just stay focused on the sales marketing side 100%. And just find someone who just loves that, right?
Yep. This is my permission slip to everybody listening. You don't have to be everything for your business. You don't, right? Actually, you only have to be one thing, and that's the CEO visionary. That's it. Every other hat can and should and will come off of your head. The question is just in what order. And what I'm telling you is that this operator hat needs to come off your head between that 50 to 100K per month mark.
So that was actually going to be my next question, was when does someone know they're ready to hire an operator? So you just said it's between that 50 to 100K mark. Is there anything else non-revenue wise people should be aware of, it, like when it's the right time to hire that person?
Yeah. So in an agency, the operator will generally be somewhere between the 4th to like 8th hire. So generally I would recommend hiring in this person after you've got a key person in every function of the business, meaning you've got your salesperson, you've got your account manager, you've got your media buyer, right? You've got that kind of core team built in place. And then the operator comes in to manage that team and make sure that team is working together as effectively as possible. So it tends to be one of those early hires in around that range. And the only other thing I'll say, AJ, is like, I know many agencies who bring in their operator beforehand, and they may be thinking like, did I do this too early? No, actually, you're just going to see the efficiency gains that much quicker and that much sooner. When I say 50 to 100K, that's at the very last possible moment, right?
Yeah.
Is in that range. If you want to bring them in earlier, if you have an incredible operator already in your team that you want to train up into that role, that all works very well as well.
Yeah, and maybe that operator can help you hire the key roles for each different department, right?
Exactly. Yep. I see many agency owners will partner, but there's a cautionary tale with that, right? Like you'll get two really strong entrepreneurs who want to co-founder and partner up. Brilliant. But then they're like, so you're the operator, right? Like they both want to give that hat to the other person, and it ends up just like falling through the cracks. So just recognizing that strength in does your co-founder, does your partner have that skill set? Do they want to show up to the business that way? And if not, then you still need an ops manager between that 50 to 100K per month mark so that both of you can step forward and become the visionaries that you need to be.
So then with that said, okay, I want to hire an operator, right? What are my first steps? I mean, first of all, obviously you guys should all just go work with Jhana because she does this pretty cool, right?
Yep.
But outside of that, let's say someone for some reason wants to do it on their own. What are like, where do you look? Like, where do you look? What do you look for? Yeah, what would be your first piece of advice there?
Yeah. So I get that question a lot. Like, where do I find A players, right? And my response is always the same. This is true for an operations role or literally any role that you're trying to hire for. Hiring A players is not about fishing in the right pond. It is about using the right fishing rod. Meaning, there is no secret corner of the internet where all the A players are hanging out, and if you could just find it, then you would be good. It's not a where, it's a how. Your fishing rod is a hiring system. And that's confusing to people. That phrase is confusing to people because most people don't have a hiring system. Their hiring system is like write up a job description and then just throw it out into the world and let's see what happens. Guys, a hiring system, a well-built hiring system is what will consistently and reliably get you A players for every role and like in any pond at any budget. We do done for you hiring operators, right? That's one of our services. And we have hired everywhere from 50K per year ops managers all the way up to 250K per year COOs. And we've gotten them both from Indeed, right? They're all there. They're all hanging out in these giant, giant oceans. The question is, do you know how to catch the fish that you're looking for? That's the system. And so bringing in and working on a proven hiring system is going to help you get not just this right fit operator, but help you bring in an A player for every role that you need to hire forever. It's incredibly high leverage.
Yeah, perfect. So it's less about obsessing, what is the secret corner of the internet or the perfect Facebook group or the perfect job board, right? And more about, just what is the right hiring process. So what are the things people miss most in their hiring process, or what is that system composed of?
Yeah, great question. So a couple of key mistakes made around hiring. Number one, the first thing that I recommend you do if you're starting to hire for a new role is first build a definition of success for that role before you talk to anyone. So we use a tool called the job scorecard. There's other tools out there, but it's essentially, what does this person look like? It's an ideal candidate. And you are building out, how does this person think? And what outcomes are they responsible for in the business, and what skills do they bring to the table, and what motivates them? It's kind of like building an ideal client avatar before you build a marketing funnel, right? I need to know who I'm speaking to so that when I go out to market to that person, I can speak directly to them. I can build a journey that will attract them through to working with me. That it's literally the same thing for hiring. You build your ideal candidate avatar, and then you speak directly to them. You build a hiring system that invites them through the process. And we get so many, AJ, we get so many compliments from the operators that we hire on our hiring system. They get so excited to work with our clients because they had such a positive experience going through a fucking hiring system. Like, they had to do work, and they're coming to us being like, that was the most amazing process ever. That was so fun, right? That's how you want every person that you hire to feel about going through your system, because you've built it for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, definitely agree with that. Get really clear on what the definition of success is and what exactly you want this person to do, and what would it look like for them to do a good job, right?
Right, exactly. So I'll give you even just like a tactical example, AJ, if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
For certain roles, like operations is this role, an executive assistant, maybe a account manager, where detail orientedness is a really important skill, right? They have to be able to catch small details in order to be successful in the role. Cool. So if that's in our job scorecard, then one of the things that we'll put into our hiring funnel is that we'll embed a code word in the job description And then we'll ask them for that code word in the application. And if they get the code word wrong, we literally won't interview them. We won't move them forward in the process, right? So that's just a small tactical example of like, you take this job scorecard and then you specifically line by line build that and reverse engineer that into your hiring system so that you are stress testing and looking for only the person who is a match for the job scorecard as you've created it.
I love that tip for sure. Yeah, and we've done something similar. We do a test task and we'll have people be like, put this emoji in the subject line when email it to me. And I'm always baffled how few people actually do that, right?
Totally.
But like you said, it's different than, like there's a lot of ways that I find sales and client acquisition are similar to hiring, right? It follows that same like funnel, right? But the one thing I found that's interesting, which relates to what you're saying, is that, you know, with sales, like you want to get more people through, but with hiring, it's the opposite. You almost like want to push a lot of people out. So you use the word stress test, and I really like that, right? So you almost want to get a lot of those people out because then you don't have to do 1,000 interviews, right?
Yes.
You want to do it with the right people.
Our hiring system automatically kicks out 95% of candidates. Like I won't even look at 95% of the applications because that's how rigorous of a system we've created. And we do that specifically because 95% of people are not going to be the right fit for it. I don't want to waste their time and I don't want them to waste my time. So why would I look at them, right? I'd rather have a system that kicks them out for me. The challenge and the mindset block that I think a lot of people run into is scarcity around A players. They believe that they have to cast this really wide net. They don't want to make the hiring process too hard because they don't want to scare away the scarce A players that are out there. And my reframe for you is like, you know, abundance mindset. A players exist everywhere. They pop up on the job market all the time. They exist for every single role. Be selective, right? Create a hard hiring process that is specifically geared towards that right fit A player, because then you're kicking out the 95% of people that aren't that person anyway. But the 5% right fit people are going to get through that process and be like, oh my God, that was so fun. That was the best.
For sure. And then also the other thing to think about too is that the time wasted of a bad hire, right? Like it's worth spending all the time up front just getting like putting more work into the hiring side, right? Because otherwise 100%. You're just going to spend 6 months with someone that doesn't work out.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely love the abundance mindset. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I used to think the same thing too. Like maybe I just need to get more people, right? Or what if there's not enough? What if I make it too hard? But then I realized like there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? There's no shortage of people.
It's a lot of fucking people. I promise you, your A players out there. You just need to know how to find them.
Yeah, it's definitely not a problem.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like you're doing more than just an application interview. It sounds like you're doing are you doing like test tasks as well? Because you said there's a pretty rigorous process you'll usually implement.
Yeah. So we send people through 3 steps before they even get to the interview. They have to go through the job description. They have to find the link to apply within the job description. That takes them to a written application, and then the written application takes them to a skill assessment. And we'll do all of that before we ever hop on an interview.
Yeah, I love that. Same thing we do, and it makes my life so much easier for sure.
Yep, totally. It's a game changer.
Awesome. Well, okay. So then, with that said, more specifically on the operator, when you are hiring for the operator, what are you looking for in terms of like background or skills or personality? Anything come to mind there that you're looking for?
Yeah, totally. So this is the tough part about hiring operators specifically, because there's one key trait that I see every amazing operator that I've ever met or trained or worked with. They all have this one thing, and it's a lens. I call it level 3 thinking. It is a way of looking at the business, and it's like a puzzle. When we talk to operators, they'll say things like, I love just seeing how things fit together and how I can make them fit together better. I love the puzzle of a business and figuring out what fits where and how to make the most perfect picture, right? It's this lens where you look at any set of data, any system, any group of people, and you're looking for optimizations, right? Another way of saying that is that you're looking for gaps. You see the problems, you see the holes, you see the gaps, you see where things could be better, you see where people are wasting time, you see where people are wasting energy or money. And it's this natural lens that you literally can't turn off even if you tried. Every operator that I know, even if they have zero formal training, will look at business that way. The hard part around that is that is the opposite way from most CEOs that I know. When they look at a business, they look at opportunities. They don't see problems, they see opportunities. They see, here's where we can make more money. Here's a new offer. Here's a new product we can launch. So it's this yin-yang lens. And the challenge is like, if you're one half of that puzzle, how do you find your opposite, right? It's really hard because they see things in such a fundamentally different way than you do. And so I see most entrepreneurs will come to me and they'll be like, all right, Jhana, I'm ready for my operator. I'm looking for a mini me. I'm looking for somebody who can just do all the same things that I do, just do them better and do them for me. And that is not who you're looking for in this role. Because let's be honest, you are incredible at what your business needs you to do, but when it comes to operations, you have backed yourself into a corner. You built an unscalable, unsustainable business. You don't need a mini you. Otherwise, there's just going to be two of you, and you're going to have twice the problem. You need an operator. You need somebody who can come in and can systematically overhaul your company so that it can run without you. That is a totally different skill set. So finding an operator is challenging because you're looking for somebody who's almost the mirror opposite to you. But most of us, our confirmation bias says, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find somebody who looks just like me. And then we end up hiring the wrong person.
Yeah, and generally we tend to just be more attracted to people like us. That's who we kind of get along with, right?
100%. Yeah, in fact, actually, most people will get really frustrated with their operator or a person on their team who could become their operator with the right training. Like we see a lot of executive assistants, account managers. There might be an operator already on your team that with the right training could really level up into that role. That's another thing that we do is we train operators up, right? But the challenge is like that person might be frustrating to you because they're always coming to you with fucking problems, right? They're always telling you, here's how this could be better. And this is wasting my time. And this isn't good enough. And you're like, shut up. Like we're growing. It's all fine. But actually recognizing that for what it is, which is a skill set. And if you can just give them the right knowledge to not just bring problems, but bring solutions, that's an incredibly powerful lens because they're the person that's going to say, hey, we're losing 40K out of our billing system right now. Do you want me to go in there and clean that up?
So in theory, it sounds like a really talented operator can go into any business, even if they're not familiar with the industry or what they're doing and just figure it out, right? Because it's more about that systems thinking mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of our core starting point offer for our clients is a company-wide audit. And my same team of personally trained operators has audited everything from marketing agencies to literally like, I think the weirdest one we did was a refurbished forklift business. And we saw the same shit, right? Like it was the same gaps in both companies because when you're trained and you know how to look at the gaps, you see those gaps everywhere.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. So cool. Okay, so I'm at 7 figures now. I've got an operator in place. Yep. What are, with a lot of the clients that you take from 7 figures to, multiple 7 figures, 8 figures and beyond, what are the common mistakes that people make at that level, right? They get stuck at 7 figures.
So we'll look at we'll specifically look at like 23 things. Our audit is a 23-point audit. But there's a couple of those that always rise to the surface. One is the operator. Do you have the right person in the role? We've had to help people fire their brothers, fire their wives, right? They stuck somebody in the role because they're competent and organized, but that's not the same thing as being a great operator. So do you have the right second in command? That's a key one. Another one is going to be strategic vision. Do you have clarity on where it is that you want to take the business? Because at 6 figures, you actually don't need that. At 6 figures, you're just like, fuck around and find out. We're trying to figure out product market fit. We're testing a bunch of different stuff. We don't even know what our core niche is. You're just in rapid iteration, trial and error mode. But to get from 7 to 8 figures, you need to have focus. Focus means saying no to a bunch of shiny objects and a bunch of opportunities that could make you money in the short term, but will distract you in the long term. And so as a CEO, one of the most important things that you can put your time towards is creating strategic clarity and then rolling that out across your business. So we see that gap a lot. Other major things, probably the next big one is going to be your team and specifically your leadership team. Like when you're between 100 and 300K per month, you're building that middle management tier that is going to do a lot of the decision making for you. 6 to 7 figures, you're making all of the most important day-to-day decisions about your business. 7 to 8 figures, there's just too many decisions to be made. You can't be the person running around making everybody's decisions for them. And so you need to bring in and train up a leadership team that is able and capable of making right decisions without you. And that's a major bottleneck that most people don't know how to get through.
Yeah, so at that point, maybe they've gotten out of the day-to-day work, but they're still like the main brain that people go through for the decision. So that's the last thing people have a hard time letting go of, right?
Yep, exactly. And your job just becomes running around making decisions when your job should be thinking about strategic clarity. Where are we going and how are we going to get there?
Yeah, well, I think everything you said ties together really nicely because, if you're not out of the day-to-day tasks, if you're still fixing problems, you don't have the space to think about the strategic clarity, right? Or develop the vision.
Exactly. Yep.
On that note, how do you think about niching down? Because you mentioned in the beginning you can experiment more, right? But yeah, what are your thoughts on, how an agency, because I know we both know, right? Tons of agencies don't have a niche or they just do everything for everyone, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I always say that, actually, Jesus, I really got to stop this, but the Hermosis told me. A CEO that stands for nothing will go for anything. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. When you're small and you're in rapid iteration, you don't stand for anything, so you try everything. And when you're small, that's an advantage because you don't know what you're doing yet. And so the more things you can try, the more things you can learn, you can iterate, and through that trial and error, you find market product fit, you find your core niche, you find your core offer. That's a huge advantage when you're small. But it comes about and like very quickly starts to bite you in the ass because now you're still in this mode of saying yes to everything. And I always say, like, starting a business is about what you say yes to, but scaling a business is about what you say no to. And it's the hardest muscle in the world to develop, to start saying no 9 times out of every 10, because what you're creating at scale is focus. And the analogy that I give for this is like, imagine a boat where everyone on that boat is rowing their heart out. They are rowing as hard as they can, but they are rowing in 10 directions simultaneously. What happens to the boat? The boat goes nowhere. And that's what we see in these larger businesses of everyone is working so hard. They're trying so hard, but the business isn't gaining traction. It's not growing. The CEO is so frustrated and they're understanding, like, why is this happening? I'll just launch a new thing, right? That always worked for me in the past. I'm just going to launch a new thing. I'm just going to try a new thing and more money will come into the door. And all of a sudden that stops working. Why does it stop working? It's because all you're doing is adding another rower, rowing in another direction and making the boat slow down even further. So a niche is just an example of one of the first times in the entrepreneur life cycle that you have to say no. When you say yes to one niche, you are by default saying no to every other niche, which means that when people come out of those niches wanting to give you their money, you have to say no. And that's a really hard thing to do. And we normally don't do it. And then we start taking in all of these like one-off clients from all these different niches on all of these different special offers or special services. And then our company starts to slow down and we wonder why. It's because we have a team that is now responsible for rowing in 10 different directions because we said yes when we should have said no.
Yeah, no, I love that quote around saying yes in the beginning more, saying no later on. I think it makes, yeah, I think that really click for a lot of people. Awesome. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, because I think I've just noticed a lot of people have this mindset around like there's certain things in the agency I can do that others can't, specifically sales and then account management. So let's talk about account management real quick. What would you say to someone who's like they just can't wrap their head around having someone else take over client management and the relationships?
Totally. Yep. So there's a couple of big beliefs around this one. Like, my clients want to talk to me, right? My clients won't talk to anybody else. My clients are demanding to talk to me, and therefore I have to step in. I have to be the one to do it. Your clients are only demanding to talk to you because you didn't put the proper expectations into the client journey from the beginning, right?
Yep.
So even if you're still the salesperson, like I still do sales for my business, but I hand that client off to my team on the back end. I make it super clear when a client asks me, so are we working with you directly? No, Mr. Client, but you're actually working with my team, and I make a point of hiring people who are better in their roles than I am. So you're gonna meet Noah, he's our head of product, he's amazing, right? Like, I'm talking up my team,
right.
I'm edifying them, and I'm letting the client know I'm setting a hard boundary. You are not talking to me anymore, I'm handing you off, right? And then what happens? My clients need something? They go to Noah, they don't come to me, right? So your clients are only coming to you because you're letting them. They're DMing you on Facebook and you're responding.
Yeah.
They're texting you because they got your number somehow and you're texting them back. But all you're doing is you're accidentally, none of this is intentional, undercutting the authority of your team. You're sidestepping them, and now you're working outside deals with the client and your account manager isn't even in the loop. How the hell are they supposed to do their job if they don't even know what's going on, right? So it really comes back to us, always. It comes back to us and like, are we setting expectations? Are we edifying our team? And then are we redirecting our clients? Because inevitably they're still gonna come to us. But in that moment, are we redirecting them back to the team? Or are we just taking that ball away from them and running with it?
Yeah, for sure. I know we touched on it before, but you want to explain real quick what you do for people at Spyglass Ops and also where people can find you if they want to learn more or work with you?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So you can check us out on spyglassops.com. If this was helpful and you want more operational kind of just value add and content, Instagram is the best place to give me a follow at the Jhana Li. And pretty much the way that we help people is everything that we've talked about today. We come in, we do a company-wide audit, we get clear on what your specific and unique operational bottlenecks are. We plug in the right second-in-command operator if you don't already have them. And then I actually have a coaching program called COO Academy where we work with your operator to make all of these internal changes within your business so that you don't have to. You get to stay focused on being the CEO visionary, We take your operator and we build out a scalable system and team for you.
I think it's such a cool and unique and valuable offer that you not only just help people hire the right operator and you guys know what to look for, but then you even help train and grow that person. Like that's amazing.
Exactly. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, we'll link that below the show. And Jhana, thanks so much for hopping on. It was a really, really valuable session, and I know it's gonna be super valuable to everyone in our community, everyone on the podcast. So really appreciate you spending the time.
Yeah. No worries. Super fun. Thanks so much, AJ.
All right. Talk to you soon.